Across Africa, where traditional barriers often limit women's access to economic opportunities, a new wave of private platforms are breaking down walls and unlocking doors. I have come to meet with the founder of one of these platforms. Olatowun Candide-Johnson founded GAIA Africa, a private business and social club dedicated to serving Africa's top 5% female decision makers.
I was starting a project before this one, and I found that in trying to find capital, I had financial consultants try to find investors. I couldn't go to institutional because it was my first foray into entrepreneurship. I was in corporate for many years, and I found that when they would present those lists, they would have no female names, no women were on those lists. And this was 2017, so I thought that was a little bit weird because, of course, there are women even then who could very easily have been on those HNI lists or UHNI lists. And so when I saw that, I also then began to notice that women weren't intentionally connecting for business. They connected very easily socially, but not for business. And I felt that was us leaving a lot of money on the table. And there are a few other things, but those were the two main things. And I was wondering why women are not getting together to talk about business, to try to collaborate in business, partner in business, to be intentional about supporting a woman in business.
This intentionality was put into motion with the concept of a business dining club in 2018. And since inception, some notable observations have been made.
The issue of capital is really a big problem. And I think this is what boxes women into doing things, not at scale, right? So you kind of like, if you have to use your own money, then, you're going to be limited, right? And also, if you're going to, you hear a lot about, we're offering, women money, but, when you hear the amounts, there's not a lot you can do with it. And you kind of wonder why, if I was a man, will you be offering me 10 million naira? I mean, really? But I think that the more we can take that risk, the more it takes us out of our comfort zone, and the more you can expand the things that you do.
Now, as a private members business club, what are the key parameters for entry, and more importantly, what informs these?
Well, we have a focus, and the focus is on women who are very senior, so C-suite founders, policymakers, very senior women. So the idea for that is really twofold. The first thing is that those women in that demographic can make the most change, right? They can easily decide, okay, we're going to do this together, and we're going to do it, and we're going to make this change. The second thing is that when you're at those levels, it's very lonely. And you need a space to breathe. You need a space to exchange ideas. You need a space to talk to other women who are kind of like walking in this, in similar shoes. And that was why we focus on that demographic. And so basically, those members are called Emeralds, and they have a minimum of 25 years working experience, and 10 of which have been in C-suite roles or similar. And then we have our Ruby membership, and those are women who have at least 15 years experience. A lot of them actually are C-suiters, the majority are. But the idea is that they have less experience, so they have minimum 15 years, but less than 25. And the reason we do that is because if you think about a woman who has 30 years of working experience or whatever, you may not. The kind of programming that she's interested will not necessarily be the same for somebody who's got 18 years experience. So that's the reason we do that. But we do a lot of stuff together, and so that works.
Beyond its core mandate, the platform also represents a space for women of varying dispositions.
There's a particular member who said that she was extremely shy before she became a member, and that, you know, just being part of this community just kind of like opened her up to so many things, and that it just basically improved her life as well as her career. So that's one good story. There are stories where a member has introduced another member for a significant amount of funding, right? There are members who have obtained board seats through other members.
But running a platform of this nature hasn't come without its operational challenges.
When we have events, when members want to come in here, when non-members come in from the outside. So this is the all service for anything food and beverage.
Oh, very nice.
It's tough because there are just so many things you have to think about. We also have an issue with talent, with finding the right people to work in this environment, right? Because, I mean, we're kind of doing something that's a little bit different. So it's not the norm, right? So you have to come in and you have to really understand what it is that we're trying to do, and, you know, buy into the vision. And you need passion to do this, right? The other thing, of course, is still funding. We need lots of money because, of course, we want to expand. I mean, the idea for GAIA Africa is that we want to, you know, reach out to the continent and maybe even beyond. So, but the thing is, we can't get conventional funding. So we have to start thinking about, you know, the what next, because the truth is that what next is expansion. So those are like some of the major problems.
What are the future prospects for these forward-thinking platforms?
Deeper influence, more women in leadership that are doing things, economic empowerment, certainly, and GAIA in, at the very least, 2 other major African cities in 8 years, but with a very large digital membership. I think the sky's the limit.